China's automotive industry has been moving fast for years now, but the pace of what's happening there lately feels different, less like catching up and more like pulling ahead. The technology being packed into new Chinese vehicles, particularly at the premium end of the market, has reached a level of sophistication that would have seemed far-fetched even 5 years ago. The Hyptec A800 is a good example of where things currently stand. Built by Hyptec, the premium sub-brand of GAC Group, and developed in deep collaboration with Huawei, the A800 is a mid to large luxury sedan that brings together an unusually dense collection of intelligent driving technology, high-performance electrification, and cabin innovation into a single package. It's now available in 4 variants priced between 189,800 yuan and 299,800 yuan, roughly 27,500 to 43,400 US dollars. And it's making a strong case that the most interesting things happening in the luxury car segment right now aren't coming from Germany or the United States. The partnership with Huawei is what gives the A800 much of its technological identity, and it's worth understanding what that actually means in practice before getting into the specifics of the car. Huawei has spent years building out an automotive technology ecosystem that goes well beyond supplying individual components. The company offers intelligent driving systems, cockpit software platforms, connectivity infrastructure, and the computing architecture that ties all of it together. When an automaker integrates Huawei deeply into a vehicle the way GAC has done with the A800, the result isn't just a car with a recognizable brand's infotainment bolted on. It's a vehicle where the hardware and software have been developed to work as a unified system from the ground up. That distinction matters when you start looking at what the A800 actually does and how its various systems interact. On the outside, the A800 follows what Hyptec calls its mountain and sea architecture philosophy, which is a more evocative way of describing an approach that balances visual strength with aerodynamic refinement. The width-to-height ratio of the body is 1.31, a proportion that gives the sedan a wide, planted stance without making it look heavy or ponderous. The overall shape follows the classic 3-box sedan format, but the roofline has a fastback quality to it that subtly lowers the visual center of gravity and gives the profile a more contemporary feel than a purely traditional sedan would have. Frameless doors contribute to the clean, uninterrupted surface appearance, and the minimalistic treatment of the body panels emphasizes the sculpted proportions without resorting to the kind of aggressive character lines that some manufacturers use to add visual excitement at the expense of elegance. The dimensions confirm that this is a genuinely large car. At 5,130 millimeters long and 1,996 millimeters wide, with an overall height of 1,500 millimeters and a wheelbase of 3,020 millimeters, the A800 sits comfortably in full-size sedan territory. The wheelbase number is the one that matters most for the people who will actually spend time in the rear seats. 3,020 millimeters is long enough to create the kind of legroom that makes a long drive genuinely comfortable rather than merely tolerable. And in the luxury sedan segment, rear passenger comfort is often what the buyer is actually paying for. The interior is where the collaboration with Huawei becomes most immediately visible. The cabin is built around a wraparound cockpit concept that puts the driver at the center of a layered digital environment while keeping the overall layout logical and navigable rather than overwhelming. A 12.3-inch fully digital instrument cluster handles the primary driver information display, presenting vehicle data through interfaces that can be customized to suit different preferences and driving situations. That part is fairly standard at this level of the market. What isn't standard is the 27-inch WHUD, a windshield heads-up display that projects navigation guidance, driving alerts, and vehicle status information directly onto the windshield across an unusually wide field of view. The difference between a conventional HUD and what the A800 offers here is significant. A typical HUD gives you a modest window of projected information somewhere in the lower portion of your field of vision. The 27-inch system effectively turns a substantial portion of the windshield into an information layer, reducing the need to shift your gaze to a secondary screen for almost anything you might want to check while driving. The central infotainment display runs to 15.6 inches and is powered by Huawei's Harmony Space 5 platform, which handles connectivity, voice interaction, integration with digital services, and the management of the various smart systems throughout the vehicle. Harmony Space is Huawei's vision of what a car's digital brain should look like, and version 5 represents the current state of that development: faster, more responsive, and deeply integrated with the car's mechanical systems than previous iterations. The voice interaction capability in particular is something that Chinese automakers have invested heavily in, and the quality gap between what's available in domestic Chinese vehicles and what most Western brands offer has become quite wide. Acoustic comfort gets serious attention inside the A800 as well. Active noise cancellation technology works throughout the cabin to suppress road noise and wind intrusion, and the audio system consists of 23 speakers developed under the ADIO sound branding. The combination of active noise management and a high-quality speaker array is engineered to create an environment where you can hold a quiet conversation at highway speeds or listen to music without the car's soundtrack competing with what's coming through the speakers. Whether the execution fully delivers on that promise is something that will only become clear in extended real-world use, but the investment in acoustic engineering is evident from the specification sheet.
One of the more thoughtful features in the A800's cabin is the flexible rear seating arrangement available in the 4-seat configuration. The system uses what Hyptec describes as a 2+1 transforming rear seat design that allows the rear bench to switch between a conventional 5-seat layout and a luxury 4-seat executive configuration. When set up for 4 occupants, the rear passengers gained additional space and a more lounge-like environment, the kind of setup that makes sense for business travel or longer journeys, where comfort matters more than maximizing the number of people you can fit in the car. The ability to reconfigure between the two modes without a significant process gives the vehicle a flexibility that makes it genuinely useful across different contexts rather than being permanently optimized for one type of use. Under the bodywork, the A800 uses a range-extended electric powertrain, a setup that has become increasingly popular in the Chinese market because it addresses range anxiety without requiring the kind of charging infrastructure investment that a pure battery electric vehicle depends on. The system pairs a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine with electric motors, but the combustion engine isn't connected to the wheels in the way a traditional hybrid would be. Instead, it functions almost exclusively as a generator, running to produce electricity that feeds into the battery and powers the motors when the battery's state of charge drops below a certain threshold. The driving experience remains fundamentally electric, smooth, quiet, with the immediate torque response that characterizes electric propulsion. But the generator in the background means you're not limited by the battery's state of charge in the way a pure EV would be. The range extender engine itself produces up to 160 horsepower in its generating role. Electric propulsion comes in 2 forms depending on which trim level you choose. The entry configuration uses a single rear-mounted motor delivering 272 horsepower, which is adequate for a large luxury sedan without being remarkable. The more interesting option is the triple-motor all-wheel drive setup available on higher trims, which puts out a combined 598 horsepower and gets the A800 from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in under 4 seconds. That's a meaningful performance figure for a car this size, and it transforms the character of the vehicle significantly. The battery capacity across variants is 35.03 kilowatt-hours, which provides a pure electric range of up to 178 kilometers on the WLTC testing cycle, dropping to around 163 kilometers in some configurations, depending on the drivetrain. The suspension setup involves dual-chamber air springs working alongside SDC electromagnetic dampers, a combination that allows the system to adjust continuously based on what the road surface is doing and how the driver is using the car. The air suspension handles the overall ride height and the broad stroke of body motion management, while the electromagnetic dampers work at a much finer scale to react to individual bumps and surface variations in real time. The result, in theory, is a vehicle that can feel plush and isolated on a smooth motorway and composed and controlled on a rough urban street, without requiring the driver to manually switch between different suspension modes.
The triple-motor all-wheel drive system in the top variants does something that conventional AWD setups don't. It manages torque not just between the front and rear axles, but independently between the left and right rear wheels. That level of torque distribution granularity enables a range of handling and stability benefits that go beyond what a traditional differential-based AWD system can achieve. At low speeds, it allows for tight maneuvering that Hyptec describes as compass turns, where the vehicle can rotate around its own axis in confined spaces. More significantly for everyday driving, it enables rapid individual wheel torque adjustments that keep the car stable and pointed in the right direction under challenging conditions. One specific application of this capability is high-speed tire blowout stabilization. If a tire fails at speeds up to 120 km per hour, the system automatically applies counter-yaw torque through the individual motors to maintain directional stability and prevent the kind of sudden loss of control that a blowout at speed can cause. It's a safety feature that addresses a real and serious risk, and the approach of using the propulsion system itself to manage the crisis is genuinely clever. Driver assistance is built around Huawei's Qiankun ADS V4.1 platform, which sits among the more capable intelligent driving systems currently available in mass-produced vehicles anywhere in the world. The top-tier variant adds an 896-line LiDAR sensor that Huawei claims is the highest specification unit currently in mass production. The line count matters because it determines how detailed and accurate the three-dimensional picture the LiDAR builds of the surrounding environment actually is. More lines mean more data points, which means better obstacle detection, more reliable identification of other road users, and improved performance in the kinds of complex real-world situations where lower-resolution systems start to struggle. The fact that the same LiDAR specification appears in the Maxtro S800, a considerably more expensive flagship sedan, gives some indication of where the A800 is positioning itself technologically relative to what's available at the very top of the market. Taken as a whole, the Hyptec A800 is a vehicle that reflects something genuinely interesting about where the Chinese automotive industry has arrived. The combination of GAC's manufacturing capability and Huawei's technology ecosystem has produced a luxury sedan that competes seriously on technology, with cars costing significantly more, while the pricing structure keeps it within the reach of a broad segment of premium buyers. The collaboration model itself, where an automaker brings in a technology partner not just for components, but as a deep co-developer of the vehicle's core systems, is becoming increasingly common in China, and the A800 is one of the more complete expressions of what that model can produce when the partnership is executed well.